Hello, Bato. Welcome back. Thank you for reconnecting. Let's just wait for None to log back in again. Amazing. Welcome back.
Yeah.
So this is always like when the conversation is flowing and I'm like, oh man, the time constraint. Come
I
on now.
didn't notice the hour went by crazy.
Hey?
I didn't notice the hour went by so quickly.
I know. I also didn't notice. I just at some point I was just like, what? It's already 5 minutes to the hour.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
very fruitful conversation. And, based on some of the comments that have been coming through in the last one, a lot of people are saying, listen, books, we want that book. We want the book. Because I
Pressure.
think
Yeah.
the pressure is on. And I think there's something so powerful when we tell our own story. So you are an African man living in Africa and bringing these things to life and being an industrialist. Like, that is mind blowing.
Thank you.
So the fact that a second factory in the middle of COVID, that is phenomenal.
Crazy. So yeah, just to kind of compress that story without losing the detail, that,
Yeah.
it allowed me to flex my muscle
Mm,
in terms of show my skill and what I learned. Because this factory was the purpose of this factory was to do one thing:
mm.
make 1 million masks. That was the sole.
Wow.
It wasn't for any other products. It wasn't for anything else. It was just for this one client to make 1 million masks. And this mask had to be prototyped by me.
Mm,
There was no pre-design. There was nothing. It just said, they said, no, you do this because you're going to put the team together. You're going to go buy the machines. You're going to set the space up. Da 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 da. So I did everything. Um, yeah, I had to do everything myself while running the main Supafit factory at the same time.
mm.
um, by myself, obviously with the support of the team that I had. So yeah, that happened, and then I think we reached about 200,000 masks
Mm.
in 2 months. We were doing about at our best, we we're doing about 8,000 a day,
Phew.
and I had to set up the whole operation, and I astounded myself, which goes back to what you said about being an industrialist. Is like the operations is one thing, but the fact that I was able to set up a full factory, including staff, in 5 days. I did the entire thing in 5 days. Um, while still running the factory and prototyping and giving the client samples to approve, etc. It was amazing. It showed me what I'm capable of.
Mm.
And then obviously, if I'm this young, then it shows me what the rest of us can do.
Mm.
Because I gave myself 5 years to make the most mistakes.
Mm.
It's only the fourth year now. You
Mm.
know, So having set up having set up three factories actually, and this third one being set up fully by myself, um, taught me more than I would have ever learned anywhere else. Because when the opportunity arises again, which it will, to set up another factory, I'll do it better, quicker, more efficiently, more cost effectively, etc. Because great relationships with the supplier, I know the technicians. I can get staff in a day or two. I can get their contracts done. I can get the labor relations sorted out. So all of that, like I can do all of that. So I've written my own blueprint on how to get that done. Okay, which I think is great because I can pass that on later and say, no, 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 this is how you do it, um, and it can be working content. I can provide that to a school. I can provide that to an institution. I can write a book, whatever that may be. So, with all that, to be honest with you, you know, I and the entity we got so busy that we were getting more work than we could handle.
Mm.
Yeah, it was madness. By the time June came, I was working 7 days a week, literally in the lockdown.
Yo.
Yes, literally 7 days a week. There was no rest. Um, so we as a small business, and I think the only thing, and I've always asked people in this whole startup entrepreneur language, at what point do you stop being a startup? At what point do you stop being a small business? And I learned I had to myself and answer myself, because I learned that the point at which you transform from being a small to at least an operational medium-sized business, other than revenue, it's your systems. Okay? Systems, to break it down, it's your systems, it's your policies, it's your procedures, and it's your management. Okay? As a small
Mm.
business, who's developing all these things?
Mm.
One person or two people with their advisors. Okay? And I needed to develop all those things so fast. Good systems. Look, four legs of the table is the best business advice I've ever received, and it was the simplest business advice. I think was from Raymond Ackerman, the Pick and Pay founder.
Mm.
So he said, "Look, a table has four legs.
Mm.
On top of this table sits your customer.
Mm.
Okay, it's admin. That's the one leg. The second leg is public relations and people, which would then
Mm.
involve getting in your social media. It's the product and service, and then it's the people, meaning your team. Okay, all of those
Mm.
legs have to be sturdy, because at the top of the table is sitting your customer.
Mm.
Okay. So if any one of those legs is wobbly, what's going to happen? Your customer is going to suffer. And most small businesses, without even noticing, are stuck in that rut of one leg being stronger than the other. You know what I mean? That's in fourth year, the business fails because they weren't able to identify and diagnose which leg is strong, which one isn't strong, you know, what's happening, da, 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 da. So that was that those lessons came to the fore in the height of the lockdown, that man, one thing for sure is our product is A class.
Mm. Superior.
Yeah, it is A class. Even in the space of 4 years, we've received very few bad feedback on the product.
Mm.
Very little feedback on the bad feedback on the product. But then if you look at the other four legs, the customer relations management hasn't been good.
Mm.
We're so overwhelmed. The accounting systems weren't so amazing. As we employed more people, we realized, oh snap, the HR systems aren't so amazing.
Mm.
And it's difficult to look at yourself and look at the business and self-diagnose and be like, oh my gosh, these systems, these policies, these procedures aren't amazing, you
Mm.
know. And one thing that we do have for sure is our terms and conditions and our policies are watertight. Okay, those have been developed in line with the SA Consumer Act. My legal team is always advising me on those, so those are always watertight. Product, service, the product and the service we provide, whether it's design and prototyping, those things are watertight. The other legs of the table, not so much.
Mm.
So as more business came in, we were able to produce, but we weren't able to carry the customer and the customer's needs fully. So we dropped the ball a lot, like a
Sure.
lot, and disappoints a lot of people in the process. And you know, other internal changes within the business structure, within the partnership structure, stakeholder agreements, lease agreements, and things like that. Other volatile aspects of the business change, and changes are only constant. You can't stop. So while you're figuring out the four legs of the table, there will be other things happening at the same time. Like life will also happen at the same time. So within the mix of that, and we've moved premises. While all of that was happening, it was difficult to keep this table upright. And that's where the need for this very, very humble apology came from, like you mentioned.
Which is incredible because, I watched that video, so it's not a long clip, but the fact that you, the main guy, is willing to stand up and say, guys, we know we kind of messed up here, a few things, we dropped the ball on a few things because of the challenges that we had. I think that takes you're a man of character for being able to do that, because I think somebody else, another business owner, would have said, you know what, whatever, apologize to these stakeholders, these clients, whatever. But here you are speaking out on a public platform to say, we take ownership. We take ownership. We know we've dropped the ball and we apologize for that and we are going to do things better. I think that is character right there. And it's...
Yeah. To be honest, thank you so much for that. Thank you very much. It's literally still an ongoing process to pick up the phone and call a few clients. Tomorrow, and I try not to overwhelm myself and my team because it's a lot, but I try to at least every day, and to me, this is, look at it this way. It's been a blessing, and I'll tell you why. Because if we have a lot of clients to apologize to, do you see what that means?
It means, well, business is good, so you've got a lot of clients that you need to apologize to.
Yeah. So there are a lot of, we got more business than we were able to carry on this table, which in that sense is a good thing, so I have to feel honored that I have people to. So one of the things, I think I quoted something a long time ago, is that, as businesses, when business gets like this, we complain. Oh, it's so tough. Oh, this client, oh, that client, da, 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 da. Like, man, 5 years ago, you didn't even have a client to speak of. You didn't even have a client to manage. You didn't have a client to apologize. So be grateful. So I'm grateful that I'm at that pinnacle where I can grow as a leader and recognize that apology and the need and that honesty to be a stand-up guy and apologize is not a bad thing. Because if we do it honorably and keep moving, it'll build an honorable business. It'll build a business with a lot of integrity.
Yes.
A lot of integrity. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from. And another thing that happened, which has been really exciting, really exciting in the lockdown, which led to more apologies and led to more business and more challenges, is as the demand for PPE kind of came down, it plateaued, to be honest. Feb, March, things were high, everyone was looking for PPE. Then by like June, July, it started to decline and reach a bit of a plateau. But then winter, all right, and I noticed when winter came, there was, because of import-export challenges brought along by COVID, a lot of the winter stock that our merchants, resellers, and even the big retailers would sell hadn't arrived from China. Yeah, there was like, people would come to you like, oh, we're looking for hoodies. We're looking for tracksuits. We're looking, and even parents would say, oh, my son can't find this. Oh, okay, Woolies doesn't have this. And then I interrogated, I was like, oh, this is a common problem. Even the major retailers don't have stock because nothing has arrived from China. And I thought, okay, this is something, and I never made much of it, right? But also, man, like how things align when you've got your intention in the right place. In this building that I was operating in, all the companies are textile related businesses, okay? I'm the only factory, well, now we're the only 2 factories. Everyone else either sells fabric or sells clothes at bulk or single items, whatever, And as the the winter came and the lockdown levels came, there were queues of people so it's 5 floors. I'm on the 5th floor. On the 4th floor, there's a guy who sells clothes. On the 1st floor, there's a guy who sells clothes. And on my floor, there's a guy who sells clothes. Every day I would go to work in the winter, there was a queue, like an election queue. Or that, and with all due respect, or like a SASA queue. It was so many people. And I was like, what are all these people doing here? And they said, no, they're here to buy hoodies. They're here to buy, it's winter, okay? And remember, we are Superfit prior to now, prior to this conversation, we were a manufacturer and a distributor. So basically meaning we don't sell one single items, okay? But if brand SA comes, and I'm speaking of clients, Global Citizen would come, uh, Royal Dutch Haskoning would come. We had some conversation with Investec. They would be looking for like 100 items, 500 items, 50 items. So that was our business. We weren't doing one items, okay? Unless it was through online retail, which is different, right? So what happened when I kept seeing these queues of people, I would like, what are you guys doing here? And they would get lost because they don't know which floor to go to look for hoodies. They would get lost and say, oh, do you guys sell hoodies? I'm like, yeah, we do, but we can't sell to you because we don't make two things. After the 15th guy got lost, I told my team, actually, you know what? The next person that comes in here wants a hoodie, tell them, yeah, we do make hoodies.
Entrepreneur.
Like, tell them we make hoodies. Long story short, we opened up retail on that day. And the queues just never stopped. Till today.
Till today.
The queues of people wanting hoodies and tracksuits and sweatshirts never stopped.
That is
Because I said, yes, we do sell hoodies. So we had to now remodel the operations to say, okay, while we're making 1,000 masks for this hospital or for this school, we're also going to make 100 hoodies because 2 people are going to come. He wants 5, he wants 7, he wants 10, he wants 20, he wants however many. And that was scary because from a systems, going back to this table, the systems to run retail are not the same systems to run a factory. They're not. Firstly, I don't have a till. I don't have a card swiping machine either. And all of a sudden,
at that point,
yeah.
What did you then do? The 15th guy who was saying, hey, I'm looking for a hoodie and they're ready to pay. How did you handle that?
Well, I told my office manager, let him pay. I'll buy you guys a receipt book. Here's a receipt book. Let him pay. Write him a receipt. And we had to, what's the word? We had to wing it.
Yeah?
Yeah, we had to wing it. And it was incredibly overwhelming. That's how this happened. All of these are hoodies.
Sure.
That are going in for retail. Now, retail, not the batch that the corporate wants to buy, like the UN wanting 1,000, but the one guy who maybe has his own little brand and wants to print 5 or 20 or 7, he can now do that to us. But when we started in June, and at the time my PA had just joined the team, she was overwhelmed. She was just like, I'm no longer your PA because like, look what's happening. He's so bombarded. And, like you say, I had to take advantage of that. We learned a lot of hard lessons. We lost a lot of money. We made a lot of mistakes in that time. But to be honest with you, as a leader and an entrepreneur, I had to be the sacrificial lamb for that. From many perspectives, but the most important one for me as an African industrialist, remember, a bulk of these hoodies that people were buying before I opened up hoodies, they were coming from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and China.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So if you have a hoodie that you bought from, I'm just going to say it out loud. If you have a hoodie that you bought from Woolies, Truworths, or Foschini, it came from one of those 3 countries. But None Morake has a factory that can produce the same quality.
Locally produced.
Yes, so that did not sit well with me at all. I'm too competitive, industrial, and I've got my wits about me that I can't let that slide. I can't, what do you mean there are no hoodies because China didn't supply hoodies. So what? We can make the same thing better. So I had to take the leap. Like, I had to take a leap of faith in a big way to say, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do it. We're going to fail. Wherever we fail, we'll fail fast. We'll keep walking, but we are going to make ourselves a mainstay for these hoodie products. And time went, like I said, lots of mistakes. But the biggest win was that through my different skills and my different, creative assets, I was able to then open an online store that focuses on hoodies, and it's called shophoodie.com. I'm just going to put that down here.
Please do, please.
Yeah, I'm going to put that down here. So you'll notice if you were to go to shophoodie.com, the only thing you can do for now, for the next week or so, is just to at least enter your email address.
Okay.
It's 90% done, but by the end of October, even you can buy yourself your one hoodie. You can buy your own crop hoodie. You can buy your own tracksuit. You can buy your own, okay? Because look at it this way. I'm patient. I'm a super, super duper patient kind of entrepreneur. I'm not in a rush, because also you can't rush a masterpiece. Okay?
Ooh.
I'm not in a rush. So, unlike some of my peers. So, here's what irks me the most. Okay? And I'll mention it because I'm competitive, but I shouldn't mention it. There's a Pakistani brand called HLY that most of these young guys and girls who buy hoodies know by name. It's a Pakistani brand. Nothing's wrong with Pakistan, but we are in South Africa now, okay? Everyone comes and says, "Hi, do you sell HLY hoodies?"
You.
And I look at my experience, I was like, no, we don't sell HLY hoodies. But we do sell Supafit hoodies.
Yes.
Because I need, do you realize how many jobs we're able to create just by saying that? Okay? So there was a gap in the market where HLY hoodies didn't make it to the country for 4 months. That was a beautiful thing for me and my team. Because we could fill that gap. We didn't make a lot of money. We made mistakes and made losses, but I'm like, it's fine. For now, we'll make the losses. But in 5 years, I want that same person to come back and say, no, I want a Shop hoodie. I want a Supafit hoodie. By then, our table will be perfect. Will be sturdy enough to say, no, whether you want 100 or 1,000 or 2 Shop hoodies, you'll get them. And they're all made locally. Because it doesn't make sense why I'm in the heart of Africa and an African consumer tells me they want a Pakistani brand when I can do the same thing. You know what I mean? Going back to that first conversation we had about being an African industrialist, I know what Africa can do. Why should I keep ordering it from China? Why should I keep ordering it from Bangladesh? We can learn from them. We can absolutely learn from them, and I've been doing that. And we at some point the learning has to be like a friend of mine used to always say, you gotta learn and then take away the L.
Woo! Yay!
Yeah.
Earn.
Yeah. So we're not earning yet. We're still learning, to be honest with you. Even as we speak, there's more hoodie requests than I can handle. As we speak, I have to literally switch everything off, give myself an hour just to go through everyone that wants hoodies. And I'm not talking like, not to say we don't serve consumers, but I'm talking the guys who want 10, 15, 20, 100. There's like 100 of them that I need to address, and I have to take that risk because I want that in 5 years, anyone can ask for a Shop hoodie. So I call the brand Shop Hoodie just to make it simple. So shophoodie.com will be the business and the brand. Shophoodie.com, I want people to be able to get their hoodies like that fucking, excuse my French, like down the line easily. Locally made, creating jobs, taking the economy forward, etc., etc. And then we could be the formidable African brand that tells people that Africa can make clothes. That's my biggest vision.
Sure. None,
Yeah.
you are no ordinary man, I can tell you that. And the stuff that you're sharing, I think it takes a lot of courage to say, you know what, why are we doing things this way when we have the resources here, we've got the skills here, why do we continue to maintain the status quo? And in fact, it's not benefiting us as the people of this continent. So I think it takes a lot of courage to say, I'm getting into the space and I'm doing it. And you mentioned something else that I think is quite big, patience. You said you cannot, a masterpiece, you cannot rush it. Cannot rush it. And I mean, we live in a time where there's a lot of, I think, consumerism. And you made an example earlier about that 5 million rand that you'd have in funding, and how someone else will say, "Okay, 5 million rand. I've always wanted the space. I've always wanted that, and this and that." But just the patience to say, "This is where we are going, and we are going to keep a level head, and we're going to be consistent, and we will fail." But it's fine. Fail fast. In 5 years' time, we will see the fruits, the earnings that you speak about from the learnings. Man, incredible.
Yeah. So that's it. And it'll come back. It'll definitely come back, because here, another way to look at it, all of the disappointment, the bad comments, the bad ratings, and the bad feedback. And it's a new thing. We've only been receiving these bad comments and feedback from like end of August to date. Okay? And maybe one corporate deal gone wrong in like June or something like that, right? Which is fine. Instead of dwelling on that and wallowing on that, because failure is not fatal, okay? I think Reggie Miller was saying that the failure is not fatal, but the failure to change might be fatal. Okay? So we're taking all of these comments, all of the negative feedback, to improve our services. All of it is research to improve our services. That's why even when you call the bank and you're upset at something, even when you call the insurance company, even when you call whoever it is that the big corpus that we consume from, there's always an option to rate the call. Not many businesses do that are small, because we're very fear-based and we're high and mighty. We don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to be dragged on social media. We're defensive about it. The big companies, they take all of it. Give me the bad stuff. Give me what you don't like about us, because for them, they turn that into a positive and say, okay, guys, it looks like in this week, we really didn't excel at this part. How do we fix it? Because it's either we don't fix it and we lose the customer in general, or we don't fix it and we lose the customer to that company. So what I told my team is that, guys, all of the comments that are coming in, please let's keep a record of them. I will sit and I'll analyze them and I'll say, okay, what can we garner from this, and what can we take from this, and say, okay, we're going to use these as new inputs for trying to improve and work on the business, such that, like I'm saying, in 5 years from now, we'll be in a better place to say, man, we no longer have CRM issues, we no longer have delivery issues, we no longer have logistics issues, we no longer have, and again, something to be proud of for myself and other young people is that, again, 90% of the comments that were bad, 90% of the disappointment is not the quality of the product. It's not. Because that's one thing that I spend time with the team to say, no, we have to perfect the product. We have to perfect the general service. Everything else we'll learn. We'll learn, we'll fail, we'll learn, and we'll keep going.
Sure. Yeah. So you spoke about those 4 legs of the table, all right? The customer is at the top of the table. You obviously need these 4 different legs to ensure that you deliver on what the customer is expecting. one of the things that I know are major. So product, I love that, you've already positioned yourself as a superior brand. So that means that is not something that you're willing to compromise on.
Yeah.
Now, there are other pieces that you're saying, listen, we're going to learn some of these things. And I know one of the big factors is the people factor. Now, when you're setting up these teams, when the business is now expanding, how has that journey gone? I know that, a lot of businesses say people are one of the most important resources in your business and in the success of your business.
Yeah.
So how have you handled dynamics?
That's a tough one, right? And I'll tell you why it's tough for me as a leader, as in this person, right? So I'm a very reclusive creative. I enjoy being a lab rat. So I enjoyed the creative process of designing, sitting down with my iPad, or sitting down with my piece of paper, sitting down with the sketchbook. And that came from me making music. That came from me writing. Okay, that's how I am. I don't want to be like around people a lot. I want to sit, focus, and create. Okay, so that, in a sense, for me, makes me a little bit antisocial. Okay, and it may make me come across a little bit offish and inaccessible to people. Now, all of a sudden, I wake up and I've got 40 staff and there's hundreds of walk-in customers. I have to, I think Tom Ford said once that for him being in public is like an act. He has to put on a performance because he's not a public person. He's not. But but you have to be honest with yourself, right? To be able to get over that. So, I'm not a fully public person. So that's the one side of it. The other side of it is a bit of a dichotomy that I struggle with a lot, where the general business principle has always been that the customer is king. The other side of it says that no, your team is king, because without a team that serves the customer well, there is no customer. There is no customer. So take care of your team, and they will take care of your customers. And in the space of trying to build a customer-centric product, a customer-centric company, where does that leave your team? You get what I mean? So that's the point at which I'm struggling with a bit right now. I'm saying, man, okay, the customer is definitely king, but my team is so important because they're also an important leg of that table that will uphold the customer and the customer service. So that's where I am right now, in trying to fully get out of my shell and enable the team, because like my mentor said, there has to be people, like you have to go through a few people to get to me first. So how do I support my team to be amazing front-facing people while I figure out the management of the team and the management of the customer in the background? And then also with my mentorship, how do I get the right guidance? Because I used to fear not knowing stuff when I was younger. Now I take absolute pleasure in not knowing, because it fuels my curiosity to know more, to ask.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was really inspiring for me is recognizing that if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. Yeah, you need to get out of that room, or invite smarter people into that room, and allow yourself to be corrected and questioned a lot. So in order to improve that people part internally and externally, I'm at a space of saying, because of who I am, because of being the reclusive creative, because of being the process-focused guy, because of being the product-focused guy, I'm going to need the assistance of so many people around me to help me become and correct me. Like, tell me, no, that's BS.
All right, I need to close the window quickly because it's getting noisy.
Yeah, that's cool.
The rain.
That's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. So yeah, it's that thing of saying I'm not the best people manager, but I can seek as much counsel as I can from the people themselves because they'll give me feedback, and then from other people outside of me who know better to say, okay, how do we handle this one? How do we tackle this one? And it's another thing from Ray Dalio where he was saying that you have to, in order to be a better leader, you have to recognize what you're best at and
Mm,
recognize what you're not best at.
mm,
And always continue to seek counsel or continually seek counsel in those areas that you're not best at. Like I know, like I'm not the front facing person. I'm not the social butterfly. I'm not that person. But if the people around me can be better those things, then I can be better at the things that I need to do.
mm,
And then we can all be supportive of each other for this thing to grow. I'll tell you, for instance, if you put me in a bank with a team of investors, a team of accountants, superstar. But if you put me at the till with a customer, not so much.
mm,
And I'm being honest, like not so much. So
mm.
in managing people, I've just got to find creative ways and strategic ways to manage all of that.
Sure. So Kiki has been commenting quite a lot. I think she's finding the conversation quite interesting. And she said so many times, she's like, book the book. We want the book.
Oh man, it's pressure, man. It's pressure.
No,
It's coming though.
you'll
It's coming.
it's coming and
Yeah.
we will be waiting for it because I think just you're learning, there's so many of them and it's so refreshing, like I said earlier to you, that to hear it in your voice, because
Yeah.
there are many books out there and there's many
Yeah.
people who speak out on these things, but you are someone that we can relate to. And the fact that I think you're so authentic about your journey, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. And I sit here and I'm wondering, None, does he have the same 24 hours that we have, or does he happen to have maybe 48? How does he then? How do you unwind? How do you pause and say, I'm taking a break? Do you know what that looks like?
I honestly, to be honest with you, I still feel like I fall short. I still kick myself at the end of the day. I'm like, man, I haven't done enough. I should have done this. I should have done that. Look, I'll start with the bad side of it. Is that just by being, I guess, as driven as I am, there's you get cursed with a blessing in the sense of you might overwork yourself.
Mm,
And I landed myself in chronic fatigue in June, July this year,
mm,
where I was just doing too much.
mm,
Yeah, way too much. Way too much. And the doctor said, well, you're not doing okay.
mm,
You're free from COVID. There's no infections. You don't have headaches. You have dehydration. And you have chronic fatigue, which means your adrenaline and your whole endocrine system is out of whack.
mm,
Luckily, I'm a very energetic person, so I'm always up, I'm always jumpy, I'm always ready to go. But then you feel flat a lot. So I had to kind of rein things in and recognize that okay, I'm driven, but I'm not Iron Man. I'm not Superman in that sense. So I had to just like you're asking, remind myself that one, I do need to have downtime,
mm,
and I do need to have times when I don't work, where I don't need to have this need to always keep pushing, because theoretically also there's that other thing called diminishing returns.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So I'm working harder, but then you become like a hamster on a wheel. This is like you're just on a treadmill, and the gains aren't corresponding, or is inversely proportional now to your effort. So so I had to slow down a lot. I had to really, really slow down. I took some days off, work. I delegated more to my team. That's always fluctuating though, And one of the most amazing things now is that I got myself a new management team, which I really want to share that. So in terms of now recognizing, one, I need downtime. Two, I do need to rest. Three, I can't do everything. I need to delegate more. I was able to get a team that is best at all the other things that I'm not best at. The manager I have now is 20 years in to the factory business. He's the same man who was about to shut down the factory 4 years ago.
Mm.
I brought him back and now he's my manager.
Wow.
Yeah. He's done work for Pringle, Polo, Edgar's, Ackerman's, Champion, Lux and Culture, etc. So obviously I need that skill because he's way better than me in that stuff.
Mm.
I got another floor manager and customer relations manager who came from a factory that used to produce for Edgar's for a long time, so that she can manage that side of the business because she'll do it better than me.
Mm.
And then I got myself an amazing personal assistant as well. She can, field comments, requests, etc. better than I can, so I can focus on other things. So those things allow me to take time to myself. They allow me to slow down and allow me not to get caught in a cycle of sort of unproductive habits, overworking and etc. So having that team in place is really just, and it's only come about. I started to assemble the team, that management team, in like late May, June. It's only really coming, like gelling well now, like coming together now, slowly, Yeah, it takes time. It takes time.
I can imagine,
Yeah,
especially, I mean, for you as a founder, so you obviously it's your brainchild, but you've had
yeah,
these people around you throughout the journey who have supported you in different ways, and it's always about, I think, having to, when you're bringing someone on board, them understanding that vision and where you're trying to go, and just making sure that those values are aligned. So it cannot be
yeah.
an easy and quick process.
Mm.
Cannot be.
You're right. In my mind, I would hope that it would take a day to say, "Hey, this is Supafit. Here's the manual. Okay, go." So, like, it's a funny thing. For a long time, when the receptionist, who was also new at the time, she would say, "Superfit clothing, hello." I was like, "No, we are not Superfit clothing. This is Superfit brand."
Yeah.
something so small, but with what you're saying, it's right. Like, it takes time to, you know, to be able to develop that understand the vision, understand the modus operandi, understand the business, understand what we stand for, and to be able to have all of that gel in a way that's effective for ourselves and for the customer.
Yeah. And well done. Well done on, I'm going to call it, freeing yourself,
Yeah.
because if you don't, I guess, delegate, especially effectively, you're gonna always want to hold on to this thing, this baby, you know what it is, you're nurturing it, and you wanna, every part of it, you just wanna be like, how's my baby doing? How's my baby doing? And that actually just keeps you can't
Yeah.
switch off. So
Yeah.
that ability to say, you know what, I will let a few things go, and not go in that you're letting the brand spiral
Yeah.
down some path that you don't
Mm.
understand, but just to say,
Mm.
I'm going to trust these people. I'm going to
Yeah.
empower the people around me, and
Absolutely.
it is okay because it's
Mm.
freeing of self as well, and trusting that the brand is still going to grow in the way that you envision for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's been a big learning, and that had to cut. That came from the lockdown related challenges. I think if it wasn't for the challenges of COVID, all of these amazing lessons that you're attesting to, I wouldn't have been awake to them. Like, I wouldn't have been so mindful now that I was like, oh snap, this has to change, that has to change. I need a team member for this. I need someone for that. So yeah,
Mm,
and even with that, like, in terms of the brand itself,
mm,
I'm also like really taking my time, to making sure that the product that comes out, the level of quality that comes out is at its highest, is superior essentially. And that's not going to happen through me. It's going to happen through a good team, where
sure.
everyone understands the moving parts,
Mm,
So I'll give you a little example of what I mean by that. We moved
mm,
premises recently, right?
mm,
And moving is messy. Okay, moving a factory is even it's terrible because there's machinery. There's all types, like there's 4 or 5 different types of machinery, and there's like 50 machines, and then furniture, and then inventory, and then fabric, and then. In the moving process, the manager lost track of where the Supafit brand labels were.
mm, 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 mm,
There's no business without them, you know. But in the packing process, until I had to retell the story and the vision, they wouldn't have noticed and recognized how important that thing is.
mm,
Yeah, that's very important. Like that is the lifeblood of the business, that brand, and where it sits and where it's packed and where it's stored. Let alone the fact
mm,
that it's expensive making labels, but what does that mean in terms of our business and vision and how important that is to us? Just having the labels properly packed and kept and accounted for, etc. So yeah, and again, a system issue for a small business.
mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sure.
So lots of learning. Lots. I've learned more in this year than I have in the past 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, even about myself as well, about my own strengths, weaknesses, etc. Like you learn so much about yourself. I think it was
Mm.
one of the pilots
Have you,
said, "Hey,
hey? Oh,
what? Can you hear
no.
me?"
Yeah, I can hear you now. Actually, there was thunder outside. I think that's what distracted me. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
have you at any point in, let's see how much time we have left. Okay, we have now 10 minutes left. Such a good conversation that we don't even feel it. We just keep going.
This goes. Yeah,
Um, have you at any point, because I think venturing into just entrepreneurship at a very basic level, and I use basic very loosely, and actually being an industrialist, I mean that's not an easy feat at all. Have you at any point in time wanted to sort of throw in the towel and go back to the comforts of maybe consulting, for example?
never.
Hmm.
Not once. No, never.
Hmm.
Because I'm I'm passionate,
Hmm.
and passion could kill you, and I don't mean it literally.
Hmm.
But your passion is God. It's a yin yang thing.
Hmm.
You can't only be passionate when things are going well.
Hmm.
And one of the ways that I've been able to differentiate that, and how I'm also able to pick my team, my partners, whatever, investors, etc., is that with passion, you ask a simple question. Is are you interested in this or are you committed? A lot of people, when it really comes down to it, you'll realize they're just interested in this. It's like a lot of
Phew.
people, like funny enough, in my when I was the super fit gym guy, um, funny, like it happens so many times. Like people say, "Oh man, I want abs like you," and what do I do? And I was like, "Stop eating pop." They're like, hi, 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 hi. No, 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 no. So as an example, that guy or girl was interested in maybe
Mhm.
aesthetically having abs, and not to say that letting go of pop is the thing to do, but like I just put it in the air, like, okay, let go of pop. And they say no, then I realize, okay, you're not really committed. You're
Yeah.
you're interested, so passion drives you to be committed and not interested. And once you're committed, it's a relationship. You have a relationship with it. So it's me, and then it's the thing. You have a relationship with this thing, and whether it's good or bad, whether it's till death do us part, really, it's like, okay, I'm in this thing. There are going to be really good days, there are going to be really bad days, but if my passion and my why are strong enough, I can stomach the bad days and get to the next day, passionately, and still say, no, 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 this is what I'm going to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that. There's something that in my head, a particular part of my life where I know that I'm just interested in this thing. It's not that I'm passionate about it, but
Yeah.
you breaking it down for me, I'm like,
Yeah, it
sure.
makes, I think once we're mindful, like you said, the mindfulness, it makes all the difference. That awareness makes all the difference. Yeah.
Look, you highlight also mindfulness quite a bit, whether it's explicitly or just actually just maybe the practice. Is it something that you are into? Is that something that
Fully. Very, very, very meditative. So people are like, oh, Lou, you never smile. And then I crack jokes, and then we're all laughing. I'm like, no, I'm always smiling, but I'm just a very I'm very pensive. So I don't have to sit like a monk to meditate, but I can live in a meditative state of being. Yeah. Not to kill myself with thought, but I can live in a meditative state of being, where, like you said, I'm mindful. And to be honest with you, the moments that I kick myself the most is when I've made mistakes that came from being mindless. When I wasn't present. When I was there, I was there. I was fully there, but I wasn't present. So I try to live a meditative lifestyle instead of saying and I do meditate like I set myself meditation times, but even if I don't, I don't say that I haven't meditated. I said, no, I can still be in a meditative state, which is then you look at me and you're like, why are you so serious? And I'm like, no, I'm not mad. I'm not angry at all. I'm a really happy, chirpy person. Like really, like I'm in good spirits more often than not, but in those moments, I can afford to be meditative and mindful of emotions, feelings, situations, body language, spirits, whatever it is. So yeah, it's important.
Sure.
Yeah.
None, I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I know that I speak for a lot of the people that have been connected, whether it was the first part of the conversation or the second part. I think there's so many learnings. I see Kiki has tried to summarize them, and she said, action overcomes fear, which was a very powerful one. The interest versus committed thing, that is also another big one. And that's why I feel like there's so many of them. I felt like throughout, because I'm facilitating this conversation, I'm like, oh my goodness, am I going to remember this? I feel like I could just, the audience at least has the benefit of jotting them down, if they want to. But the fact that we can go back to this conversation and listen to it again, I think it has been an incredible one. And thank you for obviously giving us your time. You're a busy man. And
thank you so much.
The fact that you got so many endeavors, and you know where you want the brand to go, and all these things that you are dabbling in. So the PhD, getting that done, the book, the book. So I'm just we're right here cheering you on and saying, keep on fighting the good fight. We're here for it, and we're watching. And those hoodies, we're going, what was it? Shophoodie.com.
Shophoodie.com, and I'll put that down now. So basically, if you hop on there, you'll have the chance to just drop your email, such that as soon as we go live, you'll just get a notification to say, hey, we're live now. Yeah.
Definitely not gonna go on. And please, when that book, we are ready for it. Please don't let it not be something. I know you're busy with so much, and you are really building this massive brand, and it's only onwards and upwards from here. So I wish you and the team all the best. That book, as we keep highlighting, we will be here waiting for it.
Thank you so much. That's part of my day by far. Thank you.
Cool stuff. All right.
Thanks to everyone for joining too. Thank you guys so much.
Fantastic. I'm gonna end this and then save it on my IGTV, and I'll also load it up on my YouTube, and I'll share that link with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Bro.
Cool. Keep well.
All right.
Cheers.
All right.